Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining us for our town hall tonight. We're gonna start in just a few minutes as folks connect to their audio and as we let folks into the waiting room. So we'll just get started in 1 minute. And thank you for your patience. Okay, I think that's everybody who was in the waiting room. So we'll just get started. Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining us for our Keapuka Town Hall. My name is Jacob Aki, and I am the Communications Director for the State Senate. And as you folks know, the topic of tonight's meeting is to discuss the proposed changes to the traffic circles in the Keapuka subdivision. Tonight we have elected officials from both the state and city, as well as representatives from the City Department of Transportation Services. Just a few reminders that there will be a question and answer period at the end. And the agenda for tonight is we'll have some opening remarks from our elected officials. We'll have a presentation from the Department of Transportation Services, and then we'll go into some of the questions that you folks have. We do prefer that if you do have a question that you put it in the chat. We did receive some questions from folks prior to tonight's meeting, so we'll also be asking those questions. Or if you want to ask your questions live, please raise your virtual hand or let me know in the chat, and then I will unmute you, and you'll have the opportunity to ask your question. So we'll start with Senator Keohokalole, then go to Rep. Matayoshi, and then to Councilmember Kiaʻāina. So, Senator.
Yes, aloha everyone. This has been at least a 12-year process. And so I want to acknowledge that right at the start. I think the original meeting that took place at Kapunahala about addressing the speeding that goes on Hanoi Road and Luluku happened with Senator Tokura and Representative Ito and Councilmember Anderson, maybe 12 years ago. We heard that loud and clear. And I know that a lot of you feel very passionately about the solution that has been put forward by the county. And so this meeting is to allow some feedback from all of you folks about how that is going. I know we've had a number of community meetings. There have been neighborhood board meetings about it. From my perspective, what I've seen from the community is there is a split in opinion on what we should do going forward. Some people do like the solution that's been put forward, but I really would like to thank Representative Matayoshi and Councilmember Kiaʻāina for helping us put the meeting together. They actually put the meeting together. I'm here to hear from you folks, and also thankful for the city to come and continue to have a dialogue about the situation. I know it's not perfect. I've heard from many of you, and so I appreciate all of your time coming on tonight to join us in the meeting.
Yeah, aloha everyone, and I also want to echo Senator Keohakalole's thank you to the city for being here tonight. You know, they've already appeared at the neighborhood board meeting, and they've been trying their best to have good communication with the residents of Keapuka. Just to give you some background, I mean, I live in Keapuka. I live right on Apapane, so I'm eating these traffic circles twice a day, just like a lot of you folks are too. This morning, I almost got hit by a car. A white truck coming around the traffic circle where at the Apapane intersection, because the guy just didn't slow down. You know, you look left, there's that fence right there. You look right. By the time I looked left again and almost went, he was right on us. And you know, I got my son in the car too. So I mean, that really upset me this morning. So very fresh off of that. But you know, like many of you, you know, when they first put the traffic circles in, I think a lot of us were like, what where did this come from? You know, it had been so long since the community was engaged that, you know, when you put them in 7-8 years later, a lot of people don't remember any kind of communication, and just kind of catches us off guard. So when they went in, it was kind of a shock. I think a lot of us, though, after the initial shock, after the first 3, 4, 5 months, kind of got used to it. You know, it does. I have seen traffic slowing down, coming down Luluku and on Hanoi Road. So they are certainly doing something. But we also see kind of the knuckleheads trying to turn left the wrong way around. I've seen a garbage truck do that. I've seen a garbage truck almost tip over as it tried to go around because someone put bricks in the road. Got some issues. So that's why I felt it important to get us all together again. This meeting the notice for this meeting just went out to residents in the Keapuka area. And not only, so not even Haliko. So just us who actually live there and have to deal with this every day. So this is what we wanted to hear from these are the people we wanted to hear from. And I wanted the city to hear from too. So hopefully we can get some solutions today. I don't think that, ripping out the traffic circles and putting in speed bumps are a good option at this point. For one, it'd be expensive, and second, it would just take forever. I think we got what we got. I think we got to try to make the system better. And I think the city's got a couple of proposals today that can make it better and slow these guys down a little bit more as they come through our neighborhood. So looking forward to that, and then looking forward to other input from the residents of Keapuka on what kind of other possible solutions or ideas that you folks have. So thank you for being here.
Aloha and good evening. My name is Esther Kiaʻāina, and I am pleased to be here to support my Senate colleagues, my state colleagues who have been working on this issue longer than I have. I am the newbie of the group, and as Senator Keohokalole said, this project has already been in the works. So the project was already done when I came into office. And I'm here to, I guess, have a united front among all of our city and state legislators to make sure that we understand what the community's thoughts are on this important matter. And I appreciate the city's Department of Transportation Services being here as well. So I'm here to listen. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And we do have representatives from the Department of Transportation Services. So I do want to hand it over to Deputy Director John Nouchi, who can also introduce the staff that he has on the call tonight. John?
Aloha, good evening, everybody. First of all, thanks to Senator Keohokalole and Representative Matayoshi and Councilmember Kiaʻāina for providing us this forum to actually interface directly with the residents who do interact with these traffic control devices every day. I think it's very valuable to hear from the people who do use them every day. I have with me tonight Lady Akasaki, who is our resident engineer who does know a lot about this project and has kind of been around it from its inception. So I'd actually like to defer to the smarter people in the room, which is Layden, and let him talk a little bit about this project and maybe talk a little bit about some the timeline of when things happened and how we got to what is installed today. Layden.
Okay, thank you, John. I'm gonna share my screen with everyone. Are you able to see the Keapuka update screen? Okay, thank you. Okay, good evening, everyone. Yeah, so I'll be giving a quick update regarding the Keapuka traffic circle project. So just a quick project history. As Senator and Representative Matayoshi and Councilmember mentioned, the project started back in 2010. There were 3 community meetings and a presentation made to the Kaneohe Neighborhood Board. And unfortunately, we hired a consultant to design the project, and then we were ready to go out to bid, but there was a DDC repaving project which was upcoming. So our project got delayed. And then subsequently there was a BWS water project. And so our project got pushed back. And then finally in 2019, DDC incorporated our project with their repaving project, and the traffic circles were installed. And in 2020, we finally did an update. I guess we got our update regarding like the traffic volumes and the traffic speeds were delayed due to the Pali shutdown. So in 2020, we finally updated our data, and then we're about to come back to present to the community, but then COVID hit, so it got delayed, and I'm glad we're here today to discuss it further. Okay, so this is just showing a comparison of the speed data from 2010 and 2020. This is what we call 85th percentile speeds, which is the speed at which 85% of the vehicles are traveling at or below. And you can see that definitely the traffic speeds have gone down along Luluku Road and Hanoi Road. The 2010 is shown in yellow and the 2020 speeds are shown in green. And this is just an accident plot showing the reported major crashes. Again, these are major crashes, which has a threshold of like I believe $3,000. So if it's a major crash, there'll be data. There'll be like more detail regarding what happened at the with the accident. So the blue is the accidents in the area before the circle was installed, and the yellow is showing the accidents after the circles were installed. There was only one incident, major incident, that involved the circle, which involved a car. As he was going around the circle, a skateboarder came down Luluku Road and hit the car. So after the circles went in, we did get complaints that cars were still kind of speeding through the circles. So what they were doing is they were driving in the shoulder to kind of circumvent the circle. So what we did was we put in these delineators with curbing on the approach to the circle to force them to have to go through the circle. But what we are proposing to do is to add the delineators and curbing on the downstream end as you exit the circle to, again, to help slow them down as they come out of the circle. And another proposal that we're looking at is to make this an all-way yield similar to a roundabout. So pretty much the cars that are within the circle would have the right of way to the cars that are on approach to the circle.
Layden, do you mind maybe talking about the difference between a traffic circle and a roundabout? I think that's kind of important. And perhaps DTS could have and should have done more to explain the difference in what the two different installations look like in terms of how the traffic reacts in these, as we talk about this proposed treatment. Do you mind talking about that a little bit?
Sure. So I guess the existing condition is, with the traffic circle, is the minor street is currently stopping, and they have to they pretty much yield the right of way through streets along Luluku and Hanoi roads. Yeah, but I guess with the installation of the circle.
All right, Layden, can I jump in just to clarify? Sure. So this is Luluku Road right here. If I'm on Apapane coming down the hill and I want to turn right onto Kamehameha Highway, turn right onto Luluku to get to Kamehameha Highway. You're saying if somebody is on Luluku Road coming at me down the hill at high speed, I need to identify them and wait for them, right? The way the circle is set up right now, wait for them to go through the circle before I get to go. And this proposed treatment is that person in this scenario with the yield signs, if they see me and I start into the circle, they got to stop. That's what you're saying.
They have to yield. Yes, that is correct.
Thank you.
Yeah, so fundamentally, I think the rule of how it is when it's installed right now is that all the signage you see applies just as the intersection used to work before. So if you have a stop sign coming out of either side of, Apapane and are entering onto Luluku, you must stop, before the line and look for a clearance in traffic before proceeding. So this proposed treatment would turn it into a right roundabout, which if you have to yield to the vehicles in the circle at the time. So that's an alternative we have. That's correct, right, Layden?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. So yeah, fundamentally, a traffic circle, it has the same traffic controls such as stop signs and other things and rights of way. And the roundabout is supposed to be protected and yield to the cars in the circle.
Yes.
Okay, so so that's the one of the proposals for Hanoi Road and Uhilehua.
Yeah, at both intersections, yes.
So can I just comment briefly on this one while we're all still looking at it? I would feel pretty uncomfortable coming down Apapane, even with a yield sign, seeing someone speeding down Luluku, thinking, oh, if I just poke into the traffic circle, I got the right of way. I'm still going to be dead when the guy doesn't slow down. So I'm probably still going to wait for that guy barreling down Luluku, especially if I got kids in the car. So if we have no way for them to slow down the traffic on Luluku, I don't think the residents living on Apapane or any of the side streets turning onto this thing are going to feel comfortable just going and hoping that the other guy knows what a yield sign is supposed to do. So, and yeah, I see Darlene is who's my neighbor up the street. Hi, Darlene, is saying the same thing. You know, if there's no education, just like how when these traffic circles got plopped in, there was no real education on how to use them. You saw people doing all kind of stuff, dangerous stuff. I think the same thing is going to happen here if we just do the yield signs and don't have any other way to slow them down by rumble strips or something. I'm not sure. I think the yield signs might actually cause more accidents. So just my concern.
Yeah, we probably could do some modifications to the pavement markings to try and create to kind of tighten up the lane as they enter the circle on approach, yeah. To help try and slow them down.
Okay, Layden, we can move on to the next.
Actually, that's pretty much my presentation.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. Would you like me to stop sharing?
Yeah,
Senator, Representative. Yeah.
Why don't you stop sharing? I think the whole point of getting the community together is to also hear from them too on if anyone has any proposals. And you know, we're not saying that DTS is gonna do everything we say here. You know, that's not how democracy works. But I think we do need some input from the community if that's okay. I can't remember what's on the schedule next. Jacob, what do we have planned next?
Yeah, no. So I think if DTS is done, we can move towards the question and answer period from the audience. So, you know, if you have a question, you can put it in the chat. If you want to raise your virtual hand and ask your question live, please feel free to do so. And then I will unmute you, and then you'll have some time to ask your question. Maybe one of the questions that I saw in the chat was from Ellis and Thomas Yoshioka. Can we make it a four-way stop? I think that's a DTS question.
Layden, you want to address that?
Sure. So actually, you know, there are warrants that or conditions that need to be met for a four-way stop to be warranted. And in this case, yeah, I'm not too sure if the side street volumes would accomplish that or meet the conditions to install a always stop.
I see that Bev has her hand raised. So Bev, you should be.
Layden, before that, can you give us an overview of what the conditions are aside from appropriate amount of traffic flow?
Yeah, so there's certain volume warrants that you need so much volume coming from the side streets. You also want equal volumes coming on all approaches, which in this location, I think the other side of Apapane Street probably would have the volumes would be a lot less than the other approaches. So that might discount the always stop. And there's also a traffic collision experience associated with the warrants.
Thanks. Bev?
Okay, I had a question for city transportation. Why weren't the speed bumps considered prior to putting this circle in? Wasn't it a concern about the community that we don't have this roundabout?
So when we had the 3 community meetings back in 2010, actually speed humps was one of the measures that was presented to the community. And based on their input, this is kind of what it evolved to for the people that had attended those meetings.
You mean the majority ruled for the roundabout?
Yeah, they wanted to try the mini circles and the lane narrowing with the shoulder parking lanes.
Well, you know that it presents a danger to the pedestrians because we don't have sidewalks, and it is a danger. Even my husband went out this evening to go and measure the circle, but you know, he wasn't able to get through to the traffic. He said the cars were speeding by. And we've heard from the neighbor right there at the corner near the circle that cars are just going right over the circle. They're speeding over it. So, you know, it kind of defeats the purpose of having it there. Main thing, my concern is the danger for the side pedestrians, like women with their strollers and the elderly. If I had to cross and go into the cul-de-sac across of us on Uhilehua Place, I would just stay on the circle. I wouldn't stand on the street and make sure that I had the right of way to cross. But, you know, and then we've seen even our neighbors just turn left. Like I wrote to Jacob, they turn left, which is a danger coming from Hanoi Road, going toward Luluku. They don't go around the circle. They just go over toward the left, like making a regular left turn. And it's endangerment for the cars coming out. You know, if there's a car speeding, that's not good. So, you know, it defeats the purpose too again.
Layden, is that something we could assist in terms of signage? I know like at some traffic circles, we have the circle and it has the arrow that shows how you traverse the circle in counterclockwise motion. Is that a standard traffic control device?
We put that up already, or I had to put it up. And my office also mailed postcards when it first went out, when the traffic circles were first installed, on directing people on how to use the circles. But the signs are up, you know, I gotta say, I don't notice them half the time. I go down, they're kind of like over, I mean, everyone knows. So I'm not sure. And you know, the people driving these traffic circles, most of them are either the ones that cut through every day, so they know, or the ones that live there like us who know. So I don't know if any more education is needed. I think we need something to slow this traffic down, not signs.
Thanks. We'll go to Robert Irvine, who has a question. Robert.
Hello, can everybody hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, yeah, I live right on the corner of Hanoi Road, and I watch this probably at least an hour or two a day to see what people are doing on this Hanoi Road. And I tell you, we need speed bumps. I seen your studies, they were done in 2020, but I see people driving over that roundabout every single day, especially when it's rainy. They can't see it. And we need to slow down the people. As soon as they come around that roundabout and see the green light, they stomp on the gas. And I wish you could come over to my house and just sit on my balcony and listen to it. It's I would say 50% of the people are speeding from that roundabout up to the intersection on Leaky. And that's all I had to say.
Thanks.
Thank you.
One of the questions we got in the chat from Darlene was, what would be the cost to remove the circles and install speed bumps? The circle on Hanoi and Hinamoy is totally useless as cars continue to speed around the circle. That may be a Layden question.
Yeah, we'd have to take a look into that to find out what the cost would be to actually remove the circle and put in.
Got it. Thanks. We'll move next to Jocelyn. Jocelyn has their hand raised. Should be able to unmute now.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Hi, thanks for getting this meeting together, Scott. I really appreciate it. I am a Keapuka resident, and I'm I've talked to Layden personally. We've talked about different things. And I think one of the biggest questions that come to mind is removing the circles completely and starting from scratch. And I hear money that people don't want to spend. But I think the question, this was actually proposed at one of the neighborhood board meetings immediately after these were installed. And so I think at that time we had, I want to say 30 people there that basically wanted to get their jackhammers and break them up because they're so frustrating. You know, and we had set up this little community meeting before COVID happened. You know, so there were people that were interested in learning more about the options. And one option I do not hear is removing them, you know, and I want to see that, yeah, there are mixed feelings in the community. And yes, we've gotten used to it because we have no choice. But I want to say that putting that back on the table should be an option.
Let me speak a little bit to that. Jocelyn, when you say that, like out of frustration, the frustration that rose up in the neighborhood was due to, is it that the effects were not what was intended, or that people were not using it correctly? Or help me understand a little bit about that. What the residents' frustration was, that people keep driving over it, or that it wasn't working as maybe we perceived it had intended it to do.
I think am I unmuted or?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry. So I think when the turnaround, the roundabouts were installed, first of all, the frustration was no one seemed to have been notified. Yes, there were community board meetings, but if anybody were to look into those were not, in my opinion, were not properly vetted. They were proposed in a so-called coffee hour. Most of the working community were not there. This was done in a kapunahala setting. Probably Keapuka people didn't even think twice about it. You know, so there were different things that had happened. And so I think a lot of the community members didn't feel that they were notified. And it just seemed like one day, like Scott mentioned, one day it was here and wasn't here. The next day it was installed. I am on Apapani myself. There are times I can't even get out of Apapani because of the turnaround, not because of the traffic. Because I have to now clear 4 different sections of the intersection and it's just kind of crazy how it is. So when we had talked about removing this, is because I think people felt that there were other options that were not considered. And this was just get it done and we'll just leave it at that. And I'm kind of still hearing that today, like we're gonna keep it and we're just going to amend it.
I mean, being that there's money invested in it, that doesn't mean that we would not look at removing it if the community feels that strongly about it. But we do realize that there are people who do support it too. So we have to kind of look at that, you know, we've invested a certain amount in it and maybe we want to take a look. And I can understand. I think removal, we don't want to say that that's not an option.
Okay.
But I do want to caution that removal, there is no project that is waiting in the wings under design right now that's going to immediately take over. So there's going to be a whole nother gap in how long it's going to take to install a replacement solution too. So I don't necessarily want to, this isn't like a take one out and put one in immediately. So I want to be careful about that too, just, you know, in terms of timing and what we can program and design.
And if I can weigh in a little bit, Jocelyn, you know I'm right there with you on these traffic circles, but you know they actually have slowed down traffic some. It is hard because you got to check kind of a wider range now before we turn off. But I think they are working now that people are a little more used to it, both the residents and our regular cut through guests trying to skip that Burger King light. But you know, I hear a lot of people want the speed bumps. Well, I don't know why we got to take out the traffic circle to put in the speed bumps. I mean, if we put in speed bumps, like regular speed bumps on the kind of the 2 entryways into the traffic circle from Luluku, that might slow down traffic enough for us as residents to get out of Apapane or the other side streets. And it would also just slow down traffic in general before they enter the traffic circle, which would then keep them slowed down. So I'm not sure the traffic circles necessarily need to get taken out. And it probably costs more money to take them out than to just install speed bumps. And then we'd have 2 traffic devices. So is that Layden? Maybe DTS can weigh in, but is that a possibility to put, maybe not the rumble strips, because I did see a chat that had a really good point about noise pollution caused by these rumble strips, but can we install some kind of just regular old speed bump as people enter, or kind of maybe 10 or 15 feet or whatever is normal before the traffic circle, not right as they get to the traffic circle, but slow them down as they're approaching, and then they leave short enough that they cannot accelerate again before they hit the traffic circle again. That'll kind of keep them slowed down. But once they're slow, I think then we can exit the traffic circles, and it'll just lengthen the slowing down area.
Layden, why don't you go ahead and venture an answer? And also, if you can touch on like maybe what's the difference between a speed bump and a speed hump? Sorry,
Sure.
there's technicalities everywhere. We just want to be clear about what we're talking about.
So, so a speed bump is generally those things that you see in parking lots where you gotta slow down to like maybe like 5 miles per hour. But like a speed hump is the ones, shoot, I'm trying to think if there's anything in Kaneohe. Not that I can.
But we all think of
Connector
poly.
Street?
They're the poly ones, right?
Oh, those are speed tables,
Okay.
which, because the Luluku Hanoi roads now serve the bus, speed humps would not be recommended, but I guess a speed table, I mean, technically could be, they can be traversed by the transit vehicles. I mean, I guess it's something that we could take a look at.
Yeah, and I think, one thing I did hear from Robert that would give me a little bit of pause when it comes to, a speed hump or something like that. Especially, when I think about Apapane, right? You have the long kind of steep downhill from the Kinwa side, Kamehameha Highway side, sorry, I'm thinking about food. The Kamehameha Highway side coming down the hill there. And if we are having experiences with the cut through traffic people that maybe, or, the infrequent, I'm sorry, Luluku, yes. Coming down the hill and maybe in the rain or not seeing the device, we might be presenting a little bit more of a dangerous scenario if they continue to speed, hit that hump, and then lose control at the intersection too. So we want to be very aware of that too.
I think the speed humps you're talking about are the ones that are on Kaneke Street, kind of by the stream. Is that kind of the milder ones that kind of slow you down but don't pop your car up like the parking lot? Is that what you're talking about?
That's a speed hump, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks. I do want to get back to some of our audience questions. So I know Mo has been waiting patiently. So Mo, you should be able to unmute and ask your question.
Thank you very much. I was animated when Scott was talking about the possibility of adding some things in. And then, of course, I just heard the comment that it could create another issue. But you could say that about the traffic circle itself. If somebody's speeding around the traffic circle and 2 tires are hitting the edge of the traffic circle, that could definitely put them into a spin. So that says to me that the speed limit probably needs to come down a little bit. And I would like to see the possibility. And by the way, I don't live in that area. I live in Haliko above. So I'm not affected by that. I don't usually cut through. But when the residents are asking for some sort of relief, I like Scott's idea of additional humps or tables or whatever the nomenclature is for those areas to slow the people down before getting to the circle. And then even after the circle, having something there afterwards, because I have seen people racing up the hill to catch that green light on Like coming out of there. So yeah, I'd like to see something of that regard. And I guess sounds, the more I listen to it, that there's all kinds of rules and regulations traffic wise. What are the chances of lowering the speed limit to 15 going through there? Or 20? I bet you that would be a deterrent for people cutting through. Anyway, that's all I have to say. I'll be listening, and the neighborhood board will be open to bringing anything forward. But I think this meeting kind of supersedes that. But you would have the neighborhood board support anyway. So mahalo.
I'll just cut in, by the way, Mo is the chair of the Kaneohe Neighborhood Board, and so has been informed. You know, he mentioned Haleko, but he is as well informed on this issue as anyone on this meeting. I think it's fair to say. You know, I have a question, I guess, to generally put it out. I'm watching the chat. This is really informative. So keep going. It seems like there are two issues here. One is that people generally do not understand, and do not appreciate the traffic circles, period. And the other is that the traffic circles themselves just aren't effective enough. People are not slowing down enough as a result of the traffic circles. So, you know, I guess I still would like to hear a sense from all of you as to whether it's one or the other or both. Because if the traffic circles can be improved to slow people down, and that's really the overwhelming desire here, then that's different from no matter how effective you make these traffic circles. If you can get the traffic circles to make the drivers go down to 15 miles an hour, I still don't like them, and I still want them to be taken out. Those are two different things. And because you folks have taken the time to come on tonight, I really would like to know the answer to that question.
Hey, Jacob, can we run like a poll or something?
I would need a few minutes. So
Yeah, I mean, it can be any time during this meeting, so you got some time, but I think maybe if we could poll people, remove the traffic circle, remove or keep the traffic circle and add some kind of speed slowing something, whatever.
can you write? Can you put the options
Yeah,
for
you
me
know,
in the
I'll
chat,
put
and
it
then
in the chat. I'll put it
I'll
in the
run the
chat.
poll.
Well, and so let me take accountability for the question. The reason is that I have my experience with the neighborhood is that there are quite a few people who either like the circles or are willing to tolerate them, and do not feel as strongly as everybody who's in this meeting tonight. And so I really want to make sure I understand what you folks feel, because you took the time to come on tonight. And that's the reason for the question.
Thanks. You know, I do want to call on Dan. Dan has also been waiting patiently. So, Dan, if you can unmute, you can ask your question.
Yeah, I chimed in on the chat regarding large vehicles on delivery trucks, fire trucks, and the school buses. I was behind one of the school buses one morning on Apapane, and I was wondering why he was taking so long, because he can't make a left turn around the circle. So he has to cut short the circle to get onto Luluku and actually get into oncoming traffic to do that. And that's a hazard also. And, you know, I waited a while behind him till I could get up to the stop sign. So to me, that circle needs to go.
Thanks. Any comment from DTS or any of our elected officials?
So let me ask a clarifying question on that. So does that mean that the traffic was going too slow through that, or it just, what happened with the school bus? Was it able to navigate the turn, or it had to take a pretty wide turn?
Oh, well, he can't. To make a left turn from Apapani onto Luluku, cars go around the circle, but the bus cannot go around the circle because it's the length of the vehicle. So it has to cut short the circle, but actually cross over into oncoming traffic. So he has to wait till there's no cars at all coming down either side.
So when you say, wait, I'm trying to imagine this. So this is coming out of Apapane. Which way are you talking about? From the Likelike side, or
from Scot, from Scot side?
Oh, sorry, I'm not familiar with where Representative is.
From
I used to take piano
Down
lessons
the
over there
hill,
when I was a
John.
kid.
Coming
Going
coming
downhill,
down the
downhill.
hill on Apapane,
Yeah.
and then
coming
left
down the
onto
hill.
Luluku, back up the hill toward Ho'omaluhia.
Okay,
Correct.
okay. So coming that way. So Layden, can we check the turning template on that? Because I believe, is it mountable at all? Or is there anything there that would prevent a school bus from doing it? Because the
The-
school bus having to go into that side of Apapane probably has to navigate some other turns in there did it have to back up at that? Is that something that happens every day, or is it
Every
um,
day.
every
Every
day?
day.
But does it have
'Cause-
to back up to complete that turn, or is it able to make the turn? Because generally larger vehicles, we recognize that oftentimes they can turn and they cannot stay within the prescribed lane lines and lane markers. But we just kind of want to understand, Layden, I think we can go back and check what the turning template looks like.
Yeah, and the circle is made to be, was made to be mountable.
Yep.
For the
Okay.
larger vehicles.
Okay,
So you're saying that they should be able to, they're gonna climb the circle in order to make the left turn around the circle.
That's
Is
correct.
that what mountable
Yeah,
means?
I think that's why they made the traffic circles so low, so that emergency vehicles, fire trucks, school buses, they could actually go on the circle if they need to make the turn.
Yeah, but isn't that a hazard if they have to cross into oncoming traffic to make that?
Little bit, but you know, they gotta cross into oncoming traffic no matter what, even if there was nothing there, right? So
Mhm.
I don't know. I hear what you're saying with that.
Wait, John, real quick. The question is whether that's a lazy bus driver or whether by design that left from Apapane up the hill toward Luluku is impossible to navigate for a school bus without them mounting the traffic circle. And so as a result, that driver makes the conscious decision to cut across the traffic circle, which to me is a safety issue that I think Dan is bringing up. That's a concern of mine as well.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, I mean, I think as it's designed though, the reason why we have these mountable surfaces, I think if you look at every other traffic circle and roundabout that we have, there generally is like an apron that is, I guess, that can be driven on, and that's Representative Matayoshi was right that's right. That's why it's at that height. But yes, Senator, I think when it comes down to, I'm trying to understand if I believe it should be designed such that, you know, your average school bus driver should have no problems making the turn, but we can go back and take a look at that.
But also, like, I mean, if you're talking about turning it into a roundabout in the future, how would that go? Because like in Salt Lake by Moanalua High School, there's a tree growing in the middle of the roundabout. So turning it into a roundabout, actual roundabout, then the trucks or vehicles wouldn't be able to mount that circle.
Yeah, so there's what we call an apron. So there's the hardscape circle, and then around that there's like an apron that's of a certain diameter around it that has a low curb that can be driven upon.
Okay, because well, I don't know if the bus driver knows that or even delivery trucks, because I've seen it with my own eyes that the people, I mean, they're not familiar with the area, so they don't know that they can mount it.
Thanks, Dan. One of the questions I see in the chat from Darlene is, well, it's a comment and a question. So she wrote, I dislike the circles so much that I consider going door to door to take a poll and get signatures for the removal of the circle and to replace them with speed bumps. Would DTS remove the circles if a majority of signatures against them was obtained? So it's a John question.
Can I actually say something first?
Sure,
You guys
Councilmember.
mind? Representative Matayoshi, you might know the numbers first. Can I get an idea of the number of residents in the area? Do you know that number? Because
I could try to find it.
so let me tell you what I'm thinking here. First of all, even taking a poll tonight would not be reflective of the entire community. So if you get me those numbers, I greatly appreciate a woman who said that she was going to go door to door. I think the best thing to do here is for us to send out we should talk about it, how we want to word it, and have a very accurate account of everyone in the neighborhood, we can set a deadline. And depending on the cost, I'm willing to kokua the cost associated with such a mailer. That is the only way you're going to get a true accounting of what a majority of the residents feel. I'm really concerned about email poll or even a poll tonight. So I just wanted to share that with you, and I offer that if you could, if you're interested in working with me, I would be interested in sharing the cost with you.
Thank you, council member. Any response from, maybe we'll go over to John. So John, I mean, if there was enough of a community want to remove their circles, would that type of initiative, whether it was a survey done or a substantive amount of signatures, would that be enough for DTS to consider removing the circle?
I don't think I can actually commit to that without, at this point, I think what Councilmember Kiaʻāina brought up was important. There may be others who aren't represented here, but if we can get a survey out, that definitely could influence what we might do in the future. I think we do have to be somewhat, I mean, not somewhat, we do have to be data driven, and post installation of these devices, we did have a reduction in speed and a reduction in crashes. So it's hard for us to step back on that unless we're going to either augment what's there or program something different. So I just don't want to leave the neighborhood in a certain limbo to, while we sort all of this out.
Esther, to give you an idea, I got about 900 doors or 900 mailboxes on my list. Those are only registered voters that I have access to. I would say that half the people are registered voters, give or take. So we're looking at about 1,800 doors or 1,800 mailboxes ish, if we mail to the whole area. And on John's point, I mean, yeah, I kind of agree. I know I'm not speaking for everyone here, but taking out the traffic circle, well, that's going to cost plenty of money that could be used for another traffic slowing device. And the traffic circles are a slowing device, and we have data that shows that they work. I just don't think that they're working well enough. And I think that when people are still speeding, those of us trying to navigate the traffic circles coming out of our neighborhood, it's just really hard. But I think the traffic circles would work well if we could further slow traffic down as they enter the traffic circle. So I kind of think we should give the traffic circles another shot if we add something else to make people actually slow down as they're approaching the traffic circle. And then I don't think that we're going to have as much of a problem exiting the road into the traffic circle if the cars are coming slower.
Thanks. Jocelyn has her hand raised again. So Jocelyn.
Thanks for letting me speak. I'll just give you an example of what happened just the other day. Someone was coming down from Cam Highway, going down to Luku, and was making a turn to Apapani Street, going up to Apapani. That car couldn't clear Luluku Road because the car coming down failed to stop. So now at that point in time, there are 4 cars in the turnaround and none of us could move because no one knew what to do. And this has happened, I think I can count maybe 10 times that it's happened in the past 2 years. I get the education, I understand all of that, but I think the people that I'm really frustrated with probably don't even live in Keapuka. And so how do we mitigate this problem when we know it's one thing to educate us? I totally agree with that part of it. But it seems like we're trying to accommodate everybody else except our Keapuka residents. So I'm hoping, like Darlene said, and Councilman Kiaʻāina had suggested that, we do post something. I think we talked about doing this a couple of years ago before the lockdown. I think there were 6 of us on this small little committee that were willing to do that. And you know, whatever the community agrees with, it, I would totally support. I think I keep hearing like we're just gonna have to keep the circles and add more traffic things instead of trying to figure out really what the best option is for the community.
Yeah, I'm a little hesitant to poll the community just because without people knowing what, for example, a speed bump is versus speed hump versus a traffic circle versus a roundabout. I mean, without that education first, it would be a little hard for people to make an educated decision. We could include that in the polling, but I think we have enough data right now to see that traffic is slowing down, just not enough. And maybe we should just try one more thing before we try to rip everything else out. So also on the state side, I know, you know, I'm right there with you guys with frustration of the people cutting through our neighborhood and speeding to try to get around the Burger King light. I put in about $2 million into the budget a couple of years back, pre-pandemic, to install a second left turn lane when you're coming down Kamehameha Highway to turn left onto Likelike Highway. And I think that would relieve a lot of pressure so people could make that turn and they wouldn't feel the need to even cut through our neighborhood. You know, then the pandemic hit and no one was driving anywhere. So the project got sidetracked because they were like, oh, well, there's no traffic at all now. Why do we need to put another lane? But I have been getting back on Department of Transportation on the state side to start up that project again to put that second left turn lane. So hopefully the strangers, you know, the visitors speeding through our neighborhood will be reduced if we can get that project off the ground too. So that combined with maybe another traffic slowing device, I think would help a lot.
Scott, maybe we gotta tell the dirty secret about how you go through the light across Kaneohe Bay Drive and then make the U-turn afterwards to get onto Likelike too.
Got plenty complaints
Don,
about that too.
John,
The dirty secret.
let's time out on that. So
I mean, that's how I used to go.
Don,
If I missed the left turn, I would go straight.
I do want to mention for those of you who really want us to just tear out the traffic circle and put a speed bump in. My Senate district goes from Temple Valley to Kailua. Councilmember Kiaʻāina's is even bigger. And I can tell you that there are neighborhoods where we have speed bumps, where homeowners who are 4 houses, as close as 4 houses down from the speed bump, want a speed bump in front of their house. Because when you have these guys who are just trying to take a shortcut to get to where they need to go faster, and they don't care where they're going through, and they don't care that there's a neighborhood and kids in the area, they slow down, they speed up to the speed bump, they slow down. This is the Kapunahala speed bump. This is what the neighbors have told me when I go there. They speed right up to the speed bump, they go over, and then they peel out as soon as they get off the speed bump. So the other alternative may not necessarily solve the problem we're trying to address. And that's why I asked earlier about making sure we're clear as a community, especially if we're going to poll the whole neighborhood, which I'm happy to take part in and help make happen, that the ultimate objective is to slow people down on Hanoi Road and Luluku so that it's safer for everybody. If we can all agree that that is the ultimate objective, then I think it makes sense to ask the questions of the community. Because if we tear out the traffic circle and it takes 9 years to replace it with speed bumps like it took to get the traffic circles inputted in the first place, and I'm not saying that that's what's going to happen, but then we don't make the community safer. We know from the data that if we remove the traffic circles, we make those intersections more dangerous because there were less accidents after we put them in. And so that's just my observation. I know that's not what a lot of you guys want to hear. And I gotta admit, I live on Kaneohe Bay Drive. I don't drive this every day. I drive it a lot, but not every day. And so I understand that you folks feel very passionately about this because you drive it every day. And you see these whole, you see all the shenanigans that go on in the intersections. So I'm willing to keep having these discussions, certainly about making this situation better. But I would like the poll to include a frank discussion about what the actual alternatives are and what everybody wants to see.
Thank you, Senator. I do want to call on Greg. I know Greg was waiting patiently, and then after Greg, we'll go to Robert. So Greg, you should be able to unmute now.
Thank you very much for letting me speak. I appreciate the time. So I understand and I appreciate the concern about cost, added cost and added time to mitigate the traffic. And I would like to propose, as I stated in the chat, the low cost, no cost, high speed alternative, which is to make the traffic circle a true roundabout. You see, right now, by making the priority lane the Luluku-Hanoi route, what you're saying to everyone is that the priority for speed is Luluku and Hanoi. And so all of the responsibility to enter the traffic circle safely falls upon the cross traffic or the resident. So the residents are the ones that have to wait to let the speeders go by before they can enter traffic. And that is the risk. Now, also because the priority road is Luluku-Hanoi, when a car comes shooting down Luluku Road and sees a car at cross waiting to turn into the traffic circle, they're going to speed up. They're not going to slow down. They're going to speed up because they want to intimidate that cross traffic car to not enter the traffic circle. So what you're doing is you're actually teaching the traffic on Luluku and Hanoi Road to speed up into the traffic circle, not to slow down. So if it were a true roundabout where everyone had to yield to the car in the roundabout, then the car speeding down Luluku and Hanoi Road would have to slow down. And that would be the low cost, no cost, high speed alternative to give everyone a fair chance and to share the burden on slowing down with the people on Luluku and Hanoi Road. Because right now they know that they have the priority way. And to be honest with you, some of those people, all they do is flip their wrist 2 times to get around that traffic circle. I mean, really, it's scary. You can see it. They flip that wrist right, they flip that wrist left, and bam, they're right through. And if you're trying to cross traffic, like Scott mentioned, you better be careful because they're coming higher than 25 miles per hour and they're going through at even faster speeds than that. So that would be my recommendation is a low cost, no cost, make it a true yield to the person in the roundabout. And that way everyone would have to slow down. And then you could add your speed bumps and then you could talk about 9 years later removing the roundabout. But right now you need to do something and you need to do it at a low cost. I understand that. And that's my recommendation.
Greg, I don't know if you were on earlier, but that is actually one of the proposals that DTS has presented on earlier to convert these from traffic circles into full-fledged roundabouts. But you know, some of your neighbors do have concerns about that too. So we'll take everything into consideration.
Okay, I just see that as the only quick and practical alternative right now. I mean, I hear all these other options, but as you mentioned, they're going to take years. Whether they're speed bumps, speed humps, stop signs, stop lights. I mean, you're not going to get anything within the next year, I guarantee you. So I just propose that, that's all.
Thanks, Greg. We'll go to Robert. Oh, Robert, you should be able to unmute now.
Oh, here we go. How's that?
There. Yep, I can hear you now.
Great. I agree with everything he has about how people are, you know, attempting to run these things. But my question is, you know, at Hanoi and Luluku, you have a 4-way stop. Why would it be so hard to just take out those circles and just make it a 4-way stop so that everybody does address it, like he said, to give everybody a chance to, you know, get through? That seems to be the simplest solution at the moment.
So correct me if I'm wrong, but I mean, you guys all live here. Get plenty of people who come down that road, especially Luluku. I'm wondering if it's a 4-way stop and the traffic backs up, if it's going to back up all the way to Quinoa and then back onto the Kamehameha Highway, or at least block so that traffic goes real. I mean, if there's heavy traffic or heavier traffic, especially during rush hour on a 4-way stop, I'm a little concerned that it's going to create two jams instead of.
It actually backs up right now because you're waiting to get around that circle so no one can pass you. So you're backing everybody up. I've seen it 4, 8 cars backed up towards the apartment building because of the speed bump that you're not getting through.
But it would have done that anyway without the speed bumps, just by people turning left. I mean, before they put in the traffic circle, still had that when people were turning. I mean, when I was turning left to go home, you know, I mean, you back up traffic. There's a one way.
That's why those circles don't work, because you're waiting to get through. So a 4-way stop is not going to make it any different.
But it's going to stop every single person, right?
It will. It's gonna deter people from coming through there to get over to Leaky, that's for sure.
So if I can ask Layden, you know, you mentioned earlier that there are requirements that need to be met in order to justify installing a 4-way stop on a county road. If you can repeat those requirements, but also whose requirements are they? Are they guidelines or are they requirements that the city must comply with?
Yeah, so it's guidelines based on the Federal Highway Administrator. So this is national guidelines that we follow from what we call the Manual and Uniform Traffic Control Devices. And again, some of the warrants include volume warrants and crash experience. But and again, one of the criteria is that all approaches have about equal volumes.
And so the problem you have there at the Apapane Luluku intersection are the lower side Apapane is not as significant. Yes. And then at Hanoi and Uhilehua, both sides of Uhilehua don't really have that much traffic, right?
Yeah, that's correct.
Got it. The other question I see in the chat is, how about a sign at the beginning of both entrances saying something like slow down residential area or slow down children at play?
I don't think the cut through guys care. I wish they did.
They did?
Yeah, I'm not really sure how effective, as Representative mentioned, I'm not sure how effective the sign like that would be. But if we were to make any changes to the circle, we definitely put up more types of signs to, you know, give warning as the motorist approach the circle.
Layden, can you, or John, can you give us an idea of how much it would cost to put in speed humps or some kind of second traffic slowing device, not to tear out the traffic circles, but to put in some kind of a speed hump or two to slow traffic on Luluku or Hanoi coming towards the speed bump, or I'm sorry, towards the traffic circle? Is that a high cost thing?
It really depends. As we've pointed out, I mean, as some of the residents have pointed out, we have to take a look at what exists there in terms of, you know, like we have to do a design based on like the curb, the gutter, and all these other factors. So I don't want to throw a number out there and then I don't want to be incorrect about it. So is it okay if we get back to you on that? Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Okay. Oh, Dan?
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Can you? Okay. Yeah, we do need the speed humps with crosswalks on them, because is the bus route a permanent route? Because it was never before, and now I see more foot traffic in the area. Now with the cars parking on the sides, pedestrians need to weave around parked cars. I've seen tourists pushing a wheelchair up to Ho'omaluhia Park, and you know there's no sidewalks, and just to cross the street, the only crosswalks we have is at the 4-way stop. So you know, pedestrian, there's joggers, dog walkers, there's a lot of pedestrian traffic in this area. Sidewalks end at the bridge on Luluku, and that's it. After that, there's no crosswalks or sidewalks anywhere else. So we do need speed humps with crosswalks on them to even just cross the street, because of the speeders, it's dangerous. So that's what I wanted to add also.
Thanks. I am seeing a couple of, conversation go on in the chat about, adjusting the speed limit, putting more signs. So I do know that, DTS and our electeds here did have shared some thoughts on that too. So any of our electeds or DTS just want to respond again regarding signs, slowing the speed limit?
So actually the speed limit is pretty much set by ordinance. Yeah, 25 miles per hour is typical for residential areas. Where we do have lower speed limits, like 15 miles per hour, it's by ordinance where the pavement width is 18 feet or less.
Yeah, I gotta say, I don't want to ask people to slow down by putting up more signs. I want to make them slow down by putting stuff in the way to force them. I don't think. I mean, we already tried the signs to teach people how to use the thing. We need a little more heavy-handed tactic. I think at this point, we could say 15 miles an hour, and they're still gonna rip through at 40. So we gotta put in some bumps or something. And I'm open to ideas, but that's what I want. I want to force these guys to slow down.
Can someone answer the question that someone has been raising in the chat room with regard to a locals only sign from DTS? I know we've used it depending on the circumstance in other areas on the windward side, especially in Lanikai. Can someone answer that from DTS about responding to it's come up a couple of times in the chat room with regard to whether a locals only sign would be helpful?
So I would say a local traffic only is generally used for construction purposes and temporary conditions. In this case, I don't know that would be possible for, especially, given that would generally infer that there is no other exit to it. And if we did that, we probably have to make it that it is not a thoroughfare anymore.
Okay,
and I think that would impact the residents just as hard. Yeah.
I think the residents right now are throwing out as many ideas as they can in the chat box. And I think it would be helpful if we can just look at the diversity of their recommendations and have a discussion, since this doesn't happen all the time. Thank you so much.
That's actually a great point, Esther. And Jacob, I'm on a mobile phone right now, so
I'll send you guys the chat. Yeah, I'll send you guys.
Can we get a transcript of the chat? I think I'd really like to pour through that and call the ideas from there.
Yep, we'll do. So I'll make sure that each of you get a copy of the chat. I do want. Robert has been waiting, so Robert.
Hey, sorry about
there we go.
Sorry about that. Hey, Scott, I just really, as a resident here, don't appreciate that you think you should put more stuff in the way for us to go around. Doesn't sound like a great idea. That's all I got to say about that. Thanks.
Yeah, no, I mean that's fair. I mean, I'm gonna have to eat the same thing you do every day, so I'm not saying I live in the same neighborhood. But what I'm saying is, I don't think people are gonna pay attention to the signs, especially the people who don't even live, who aren't even our neighbors. So that's kind of the only solution we got. I mean, I think you suggested doing a four-way stop. That's putting stuff in the way too, just not a physical thing, but still something that people have to stop for. So our ideas are the same. We want to slow down traffic by forcing people to stop or slow down. And the only way to do that for everyone is to have it hit us too. So no matter what solution we have that we implement here, I think that the result is going to be the same. I just want it to be effective, and a four-way stop would be very effective. It would stop people. I think that any other stop sign that doesn't say stop on it, people are not going to stop, and people aren't going to slow down. So it's kind of a wasted sign. So I think we got to put something in the way, and that's what I'm suggesting.
Well, I mean, a stop sign works. Put some police there, and I guarantee you, they're going to start thinking about going around instead of getting a ticket for running a stop versus running over and speeding up on speed bumps.
I don't know. I mean, we can agree to disagree here, but I think they're going to stop and then speed up again. I mean, the traffic circle at least makes them slow down for longer. I think a speed hump, in addition to that, would force them to slow down for even longer. But I mean, you guys see it every day. It's not like people stay the same speed on Huluku. They especially the cut throughs, they're trying to get from A to B, and they're going to do that any way they can. So I'm not saying my solution is perfect at all. You know, I'm not trying to propose that at all, but I think it's one option that doesn't involve whatever $500,000 to take out a device that is slowing people down right now.
Thanks, Rep. You know, I do want to let folks know we are at the 1 hour 15 mark, so we are nearing the end of our time together here. So we'll go through maybe with a couple more questions. So, Robert, I see your hand raised. I'm gonna go to Gina, and then if anyone else, and then I'll go back to Robert. But Gina's comment in the chat is there's so much visual clutter at these roundabouts. A pedestrian is one more obstacle. Where is a safe place to walk across at these traffic circle intersections? Soon, much or too much distraction. So I think that was more of a comment. Anyone else have any questions? Any last things they wanted to point out?
So Jacob, I did want to mention Sherry Goya's comment. I got your comment about the survey, by the way. We're going to make the change, but we can reach out to the police and ask if we can move in one of those
Speed radars.
Speed readers. The experience that I've seen in other neighborhoods on the windward side is that those speed readers, they provide temporary relief. Just like when you ask the police to come and ticket, you know, to just post up at one of these intersections during rush hour in the morning or afternoon, they'll ticket people, and then that'll slow things down for a week or two, but those are temporary solutions. So, you know, we can ask for that to go in, but I don't think it's realistic to sit here and tell you folks that that's going to provide you a permanent measure of relief.
Thank you, Senator. Okay, any other last questions? Any other comments from the community? Going once, going twice. Okay, if not, I will hand this back over to our elected officials and DTS for some final comments. And then just to let you folks know that this meeting has been recorded, so I'll hand it over to the elected officials now for some closing remarks, and then to DTS. So Senator, and then Rep, and then Councilmember.
Okay, thank you very much, Jacob, for facilitating the meeting. Councilmember Kiaʻāina, this is a city issue, so thank you very much for also being on. And you know, this issue started before any of us were in office. The solution that we have now is the one we have now, and we do want to hear from you guys. So this was a very civil meeting, which I really appreciate, because I know you folks may not want to deal with this in a civil way. I know people are very passionate about it. So thank you for your time, and you can continue to send us your input, and we will try to do the best we can to fix the problem. But again, for me personally, I do want to make sure that the number one issue is that the neighborhood thoroughfares are safer. So with that, thank you very much, and have a nice evening.
Yeah, big thank you to DTS for showing up today in force too for the community. I really appreciate that. They don't get paid overtime, so I mean, really thank you to them for showing up at, you know, all the way up to 7:45 or whatnot it is now, to really hear and listen to the community. I saw someone ask about next steps. I mean, I think the next steps is we've got all your feedback. We're going to discuss with DTS. We might be putting out a survey to kind of poll the community, try to get as much information as we can and weigh our options, and try to move forward with some kind of plan for relief for the community. But really, thank you all for coming here. Thank you to Jacob for moderating, and just really appreciate everyone having that kind of civil discussion with us. So thank you, everyone.
Aloha to everyone again. Thank you guys so much. Again, I'm the newbie among our group here, but greatly appreciate both of my colleagues as well as DTS to be here, be able to hear from the community and listen to your recommendations, and hopefully we can collectively figure out some next steps moving forward. Layden, who put his email in your chat box. I know sometimes I don't look at the chat box all the time. For all of you who are on, he is the point of contact for the city for this project. So please feel free to follow up with him directly. l.akasaki@honolulu.gov. Again, l.akasaki@honolulu.gov. Thank you guys so much for being here tonight.
Sorry, I just had one last thought. You know, I appreciate everyone. I know we have some disagreements, but we are all on the same side here. You know, all of us are community members. All of us are dealing with this issue. All of us care about keeping us and our families safe. And no matter what we do, I mean, I just want everyone to know that everyone is on the same side here, trying to make our community a safer place, even if we differ on how that happens. So thank you all for being here, especially for that.
Thanks, and then I'll hand it back over to John and his team for some closing thoughts.
You know, first of all, like we're really lucky and happy that this forum was available to us, especially at this time, because you guys are concerned enough to, after you come home from a hard day at work, to come and discuss these kinds of things in your neighborhood. And I think we're really lucky to be able to hear that. And in fact, like I said, I wish I wasn't on my mobile phone, because I saw all these ideas going by in the chat. So I got to get that from Jacob so that we can maybe go back and digest a lot of that and pretty much see all the ideas, kind of get a sense of where everybody's landing. And we will definitely be back to talk more about this. And I really thank everyone, Senator, Representative, and Council Member, for giving us this opportunity to interact directly with your constituents.
Okay, if there's nothing else, thank you everybody for joining us. I know this is a discussion that will be continued, and I think this will be one of many meetings, but thank you everybody for coming on, and we'll see you folks soon. Take care.